That then brings us now to consideration and action on a resolution setting the 2012 property tax millage rate. Okay. You can't hear at all? Okay, if council could please speak into their microphone. We have a resolution 2012. Before we read the resolution into the record, if I could have a motion to set the millage rate.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion we set the millage rate at 5 mils, which would be a reduction of 0.7 of a mil from the previous year.
Second.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Emanuel. Further discussion.
I'm sorry. We're allowed to do this tonight for 2 reasons. One, our tax digest, which is the dollar amount of all the property values in the city of Snellville, what their taxable amount is, has stayed fairly consistent from last year, which is a very good thing, because Lawrenceville, Lilburn, Grayson have all seen drops of 6 to 10% of their dollar, their big money, their budget. Excuse me. You get these terms start going around in your head. Your tax digest. That, I think, goes back to the things that we did in 2010, 2011, the fact that we brought in some good commercial property. We've done some redevelopment in the city in some of the areas that were distressed, and that's brought our property values back up. We're not where we need to be, but they're stabilized, is what this is saying. That's what our tax digest says. So doesn't mean that individual homes may not depreciate it, but overall the city as a whole has maintained its value from 2011 to 2012. That, along with the SDS settlement that was made with the county, which is bringing $705,000 additional revenue into the city for next year, gives us the ability to drop the rate you're going to have to pay on your property taxes. In 2010, when I and members of the former council asked you to raise your taxes, we said that once we had the opportunity, once we stopped the bleeding, I believe is the term we used, once we did that, then we would return it back to you if we could shift the property tax base from residential to commercial and get it more balanced. We were able to do that, so those 2 things combined are the reason that we're going to be able to drop taxes this year. Hopefully, we'll be able to maintain again next year. Doing that, we'll be able to either maintain or drop our tax rate again. We may have to raise it. We don't know that. All I know is that right now, based on what we've seen this year, we're able to reduce it 14%, and that's what our budget projects, and that's what we have in the budget tonight, or our millage rate tonight.
Additional comments?
Yes, Mayor, please. Roughly 14% drop, in round numbers. To me, that's wonderful news. And it goes back to some of the things that have been going on in this city the last 2 years. The new Verizon wireless store, the new Walmart neighborhood grocery, the new McDonald's, Del Taco, Kaiser Permanente. And the list goes on. Eastside Hospital. Major renovations and things going on, expansions going on up there. People are coming to Snellville, and these corporations are deciding that Snellville's a place they want to be, and they make this large investment. How many absolutely loved the closed down BP station at 124 and Ronald Reagan? Raise your hand. I didn't think so. But now we got this beautiful new Verizon store that is a multi-million-dollar facility, and it's one of their premier locations that they're showcasing all over the country. So good things have happened in the last 2 years, and things you should be proud of. and things we want to continue and work towards, so we can continue to do those kind of things, like drop the millage 0.7%.
Additional comment? I am not as optimistic as Mayor Pro Tem Witz and Councilman Howard. I think we've had a good year, but we are able to pay for some of these things out of our surplus or our savings account. We've had some money from SDS, our settlement with the county, and I believe that we do need to pass those savings on to the taxpayers. But I'm not optimistic that next year we're going to be in the same position. And so I'm hesitant tonight to support this because I don't want to turn around and have to raise taxes. So after long consideration, I have decided to support this 5 mil rate tonight. But in looking at our budget that we approved, our 2011 fiscal budget, our expenditures were $9,377,000. This year, the budget we just passed for fiscal year 2013 were $10,070,201. We are able to do that with a lower millage rate. But next year, I want to go on the record, I will not support raising the millage rate unless we cut spending. I don't think we're fiscally conservative if we lower taxes and we don't cut spending. I think we're in a fortunate situation, but next year, I don't expect council to come and say we've got to raise your taxes without cutting spending. We can't consistently go up in our expenditures with the budget and lower taxes. That will get us in the long run. We won't have a savings and we'll be in jeopardy. But because of the situation we're in with the SDS money, I do believe that we need to pass that benefit on to our taxpayers, and so I will support the proposed 5 mil tax reduction tonight. And with that, if there's no further comment, I will open the floor up to public comment. Please state your name and address for the record if you have any public comment. This is an easy crowd tonight. Seeing none, I will close that and call the question. All those in favor, actually, shall I read the resolution? All those in favor of resolution 2012- Whereas the Georgia law and the City Code of Ordinances require the city to adopt a balanced budget for its operations, and whereas through public hearings, the city staff, mayor, and city council have drafted such a budget to comply with the requirements of state law, and whereas the adoption of that budget required the passage of a millage rate sufficient to allow for the collection of taxes necessary to cover the costs of operating the city government according to the budget, and whereas the mayor and council find it necessary and desirable to establish certain millage rates for properties in Gwinnett County in fairness to the taxpayers of the city and in compliance with state law, and whereas the tax rate of 5 mils per 1,000 of assessed valuation for City of Snellville taxpayers in Gwinnett County is required for the raising of sufficient revenues to support municipal operations and meeting the requirements of state law for establishing rates. And whereas notices required by state law have been published in the legal organ of the City of Snellville, and whereas the city has conducted public hearings to receive comments from citizens on the proposed budget and rates, now therefore the council of the City of Snellville hereby ordains and resolves that the millage rate of 5 mils per 1,000 of assessed valuation for City of Snellville taxpayers in Gwinnett County enumerated above is approved and ordained for the fiscal year 2012-2013. All those in favor of approving the resolution as read signify by raising your right hand. Excuse me. That's 6 in favor. All those opposed, that's 0 opposed. The resolution passes 6-0. With that, we will then move on to first reading, consideration, and action.